It's time to show off another 3D resource pack, but for this time we're going to be using it for 1.17.1. So this is basically a 3D pack, which is not activated yet, but this is the 3D pack. So in the past I've shown default 3D and a few other packs, and I've made a little bit of a test map here, which is not really so impressive, and it just has a range of different block sets, all the ones which are particularly affected by this pack. And in a few moments I'm going to activate the pack itself and show you just the changes that it's made to the blocks in the game, and I'm going to show you them close up and try and go over a few of the changes. This is the latest update 1.17.1, and it's pretty impressive how the 3D additions to these blocks makes everything look more impressive and realistic without taking away from the current vanilla art style. So why don't we jump in and take a look at the 3D additions that this pack has made to the game. So first let's go over the doors. So the doors, there's not really too many changes because they're already 3D blocks, but for an example with the warped forest doors and the crimson doors, they do actually have a few 3D additions. So as you can see, we have the warped forest doors have slight wooden ridges which actually protrude out of the door, which is a new feature. This is the same with the crimson door. As you can see, certain wooden parts of it protrude and stick out, and little knobs of the door and the hinges actually stick out too. This is the same for the majority of the other vanilla doors. Some of the segments have gaps and spaces in them, and the handles actually stick out too. This is quite a nice addition. Now as you can see with the doors like the iron one, there's not really too many changes other than the handle and the hinges itself, so it's kind of boring in terms of comparison to the others. Now for an example, this spruce one is really nice because a few of the little metal notches which have been added onto it actually stick out too, which adds detail, and the hook which we open the door with, or the ring if you like, the metal ring sticks out too as a shape, which is really cool. Now particularly I like the birch one because there's now a ridge in the frame of the window in the middle, and it kind of dints in and comes inside, which gives it a more exaggerated 3D look. And as you can see, many of the other doors are pretty similar. Now the flowers are worth actually taking a close-up look as well. Now I'm not particularly sure which flowers are which because I'm not really a florist, but you can see the 3D flowers look really nice too, and they kind of have a voxelized style to them, so you'd expect to see this kind of art style in a voxel game like Cube World or Teardown for an example. They don't really seem to fit into Minecraft because they're not really cubic, they're more voxel shaped, just like that style of game, which is kind of strange, but it looks really overwhelmingly good to me as well. Now you can see the mushrooms in 3D are really nice too, because if you saw earlier when they're in the kind of 2D 8-bit art style, they don't look so great, but I think it's a really great improvement when the mushrooms and plants and flowers are made fully 3D because they decorate and complement the world much more. So let's take a look at particularly the crafting blocks specifically. Now the reason why I like these is you'll see a lot of the crafting blocks, they usually have sprites or textures of tools on them, but now that we have 3D blocks, these tools actually stick out. For an example, on this one we have an arrow and a target sticking out, and a bow, which looks really awesome. The enchanting table has very few changes, although the red cloth on top is actually a 3D object now, and these diamond rimmed etchers on the corners are now 3D, which stick out as blocks to give it more of a dimensional appearance. As for the furnace, it's really cool because the furnace actually has a 3D appearance where it appears like there's actually an oven inside of it or something which could be inside, which is why I'd also like to show you the smelting process. So when we smelt it now, you can see the sprite is kind of deep inside of the block, which looks more realistic. Unfortunately, the animations are not really that great, but apart from that, it's really cool. The crafting bench is also really nice because it has a hammer and a saw on it. The top of it is more voxelized, just like some of the other blocks, so you can expect this resource pack to have more of a voxel style to it than a more cubic Minecraft style. And a few of these changes which I'm showing you are not actually part of the resource pack, you may notice, because some of these blocks are already 3D and vanilla. So let's progress inside of our strange base that we've built out of the nether bricks from the bastions. Now this is a very scuffed base. This is just literally just to showcase as many blocks as possible in a small area. Now the rails look really nice. You can see the rails are not 2D sprites just flat on the ground on top of blocks. They're now actually full 3-dimensional models, which look really impressive. Anyone who's basically a railway buff who wants to create an awesome railway or train station will now be happy that these blocks have been changed. And there's many resource packs like this. This isn't really a new thing, but this is probably the best one which I've found to support the current update. As for fences, they look far more better. I really don't like the vanilla fences, and they've done the same treatment with walls and the half wall pieces too, which are not connected on the corners. Torches also look really cool. They've not really changed too much, but I like the appearance of the top segment. And chains and iron fences are also changed too. So iron fences are now a lot more thicker, which is nice because since they're thicker it makes more sense that they can actually contain things. And the chains are actually three-dimensional because the current chain links in the vanilla game, they just look really cumbersome and not really impressive. So I think that's probably one of the biggest changes itself. So let's take a look at some random blocks which we've kind of grouped into blocks that kind of fit together. So we have the magma blocks over here with glowstone and a few other blocks to complement it, and then we have a section where we have the half slabs. So I really like how the different planks of wood actually stick out. So the different planks of wood are three-dimensional to kind of stress that they're actually singular segments, and that's the same with nether bricks and normal bricks. The actual bricks themselves, each brick sticks out of the block, and the middle is kind of like the cement block base that holds them together. So there's some really cool appearances in this particular art style that they've used. As for sandstone, I really like this too. It will make pyramids and structures created out of it look far more better, as you can see with everything sticking out from the block itself over here, which I think personally looks amazing. And then I've also made a section of the grass-like blocks in the game. So we have mycelium over here, the warped forest grass, crimson forest grass, then we have the coarse dirt, I believe, and the normal dirt. Now you'll see that the grass on top of the dirt actually hangs over the top, which is a new feature too. And I think what most people have been waiting for is probably the ores. Now the 3D packs, to be honest, the most impressive feature of these to me is the ores. The reason for this being is because they actually make the ores look far more realistic, because the actual ore inside of the stone sticks out. It makes it more easier to see when in caves, especially if you couple the resource pack with some kind of mod that highlights ores. It makes them a lot easier to see underground. So I really like what they do with ores, and every single ore supported, not just the normal variant of the ore, but also the dense variants of them too. So you can expect to see a lot of changes. For an example, lapis lazuli looks really amazing now, which is one of the ores which looks a little bit more bland. And diamonds, which most people have probably come here to see, you can expect to see these with a fully three-dimensional appearance. And then if we move over here to some of the more construction materials, we have the mossy cobblestone, which appears very rugged and rough, like a classic stone appearance that it should be, with all these knobs and notches coming off it. As you can see over here, we also have all of the standard wooden plank blocks, which are the full blocks. I've already shown the half blocks. And some of the brand new blocks from 1.17, such as the copper blocks, now have these gilded copper tiles which protrude from the top of the block base itself. And this is the same for the worn down copper as well, which is the rain affected variant, and also the normal final green variant. What's strange though for me is the jack-o'-lanterns. This is one of the blocks which I really like to take a look at when we take a look at 3D packs. And for me this is strange because what's cool is you can see the full inside of the jack-o'-lantern block, which is pretty impressive. But for the illuminated one, they've gone ahead and instead of just making it brighter inside, they've actually put a fully 3D torch block inside of the jack-o'-lantern to make it kind of appear like a candle, which I thought was pretty cool. But there is actually candles in the game though, so I thought it would have probably been cooler if they actually put a candle inside and illuminated it, which is just a tip which I'd give to the creator to kind of make things a little bit more consistent. I've also made a section here which has the end blocks, so we have the purple blocks and the end stone, which is already looking far more better, especially the purple blocks with all these different notches. And one of my favourites personally is the bookshelf. Now I think they could have done a little bit better with the bookshelves though, because the wooden rim of the shelf itself and the shelves look a lot better. The books inside of the shelf itself are not actually 3D. I think it would look much better if they actually gave some love to the actual books as part of the block too. But apart from that, I think everything is looking really amazing. So we're just going to go down the middle and take a look at some more here. We have some of the prismarine blocks, as well as the nether blocks on the left and the right side, and also the wooden blocks, which if you look up close, you wouldn't be able to tell the 3D, although you can see at the very corners of the rims, there's kind of like a cross section cut out from the corner to split each side, which is the changes made in the pack. But apart from that, there's not really many changes made to the actual logs themselves. And if you take a look at the stone, there's very basic and minor changes in the classic 3D pack. I don't think there's any changes made to the boats, although I did put the boats down because the boats themselves do actually have brand new icons in this pack. And then the last blocks which we're going to take a look at are the redstone lamps over here, the TNT which now has a fully 3D circular fuse on top which sits on top of the block, as well as spaces in between at the top for the TNT, which is a little bit more realistic. Then over here we have the lodestone, which makes it look like a very classic kind of medieval block with the changes made to it. As you can see with all these etches on the side and these spiral shapes, it reminds me of something which you'd see in RuneScape for an example. I think one of the coolest blocks again, which I keep saying, but I have to stress with this particular one, the coolest change which I personally believe is this beehive, because the changes they made to it and the three-dimensional holes inside of the block shape itself, it kind of makes sense that bees would be able to come in and come out of the block itself, so it gives it some more realism to its appearance. And the top has these kind of maze-like segments on top of it. So this is a really cool block, and I think the beehive has been done perfectly. As for the cake, it's been made a lot smaller than it usually is, which is just about all the changes that have been made, just to kind of make it fit into a small area space. But apart from that, it's very similar, although there's no crumbs left on the floor like some resource packs. But that is the classic 3D pack. This is probably your best option to have a 3D resource pack for 1.17.1, and here's all the changes which I've shown for all the blocks which have been affected. If I did miss a particular block which has been changed, or if there's a future update, please do cover it down below in the comments and notify me about it if I did miss it out in the showcase. YouTube says 97% of you are not subscribed, so if you enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications and slap the like button for more Minecraft mod videos like this one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.